Hello children, today we are studying a new chapter, The Sermon at Banaras, which is written by Betty Renshaw. Sermon means religious or moral talk. This chapter covers the journey of Gautam Buddha from princehood to his saintly life. After seeing the suffering of the world, he decided to give up all worldly pleasures and sought enlightenment. He finally attained salvation under a tree at Bodh Gaya. Here starts our chapter. Gautam Buddha began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautama in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. Gautam Buddha began his life as a prince. He was not a saint by birth. He was a prince and his name was Siddhartha Gautama. And he was born in northern India. At the age of 12, he was sent away for schooling, for studying the Hindu sacred scriptures. And after 4 years, he returned home and he married a princess. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. They had a son and they lived 10 years in the way how royal people live. Befitted means appropriate for, suitable for. Royalty means royal life. So he led a royal life for 10 years. Then at about the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world, while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. Gautam Buddha, that means Siddhartha Gautama, had been shielded from the sufferings of the world. That means his parents never allowed him to understand that there are sufferings in this world. So they tried to hide those kind of sufferings from his life. And one day what happened? He saw a sick man. At about the age of 25 it happened. The prince heretofore shielded, that means up to that he was shielded. He was not allowed to see the sufferings of the world. But one day while he went out for hunting, he chanced upon, that means he came across by chance, that means he saw by chance a sick man. Then he saw an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. Monk means a saint who is begging for alms. Alms means money or food, which is given to poor people. So he saw a monk begging. Okay, so by seeing all these things for the first time, he really got shock. These sights so moved him that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. So we said that till that day he was shielded from all these kind of sufferings. He didn't see such kind of sufferings which is in this world up to that day. But suddenly on a particular day when he saw all these things, he became really shocked. And he went out from his house to seek means in search of enlightenment. What is enlightenment? It is a state of high spiritual knowledge. So he thought that he should understand much about God, spirituality and all. So he went away from his house. Concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. Witnessed means seen. Okay, so by seeing all these things, his mind has completely changed, and he thought that he should know something more about this world, about spirituality and all. So he stopped his princely life or royal life and went out from his house. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. So what he did, he came out from his house and he wandered for 7 years. Then finally he decided to sit down under a peepal tree, and he promised that until he get enlightenment, he will stay there itself. Okay, then enlightened after 7 days, he renamed the tree the Bodhi tree, tree of wisdom, and began to teach and to share his new understandings. So, after 7 days, he got enlightenment. The spiritual knowledge or the blessings of God is being got to him, and as he got that enlightenment by sitting down that tree, he named that tree as the Bodhi tree. He named that tree as Bodhi tree. Bodhi tree means tree of wisdom. And by sitting down that tree, he began to teach and he began to share his new understandings. Then, at this point, he became known as the Buddha. The Buddha means the awakened or the enlightened. The meaning of the word Buddha or the name Buddha is the awakened or the enlightened. So, from that day onwards, he began to be known as Buddha. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares. Preached means delivered a religious speech. Okay, sermon, we already told the meaning. What is it? Religious or moral talk. So he gave his first preaching. First sermon was given at the city of Benares. You might have noticed the name of our chapter. What is it? The Sermon at Benares. So it's given because of this. Okay. Then, most holy of the dipping places on the river Ganges. So, Benares city, it is the most holy city and it is near the river Ganges. That sermon has been preserved and is given here. So, well-preserved sermon was there and it is given here. Then, it reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. Inscrutable means something which cannot be understood. By hearing that speech, we can understand more about this kind of sufferings which are there in this world. Okay, so it reflects, it gave out Buddha's wisdom, Buddha's great thoughts about inscrutable kind of suffering. So what's the content of that speech? What's the content of the sermon at Benares? It reflected the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. Now we can listen to a story. Kissa Gautami had an only son and he died. Kissa Gautami lady, she had only one son and that son passed away. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine, and the people said, "She has lost her senses. The boy is dead." Really, in that grief of her son's death, she was not able to accept the fact that her son passed away. So what she did, she carried the dead child, the dead body of her child, to all the neighbors, asking them for a medicine to cure the baby and to cure the child. So this shows that she really has lost her sense, and all the people said that she has lost her senses and the boy is dead. At length, Kissa Gautami met a man who replied to her request, "I cannot give thee medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can." So she saw a man who replied to her request in this way. What that man said, "I cannot give you," thee means you, "for thy," thy means your. Okay, so I cannot give you medicine for your child, but I know a physician, a person who can give medicine for your child. And the girl said, "Pray tell me, sir, who is it?" And the man replied, "Go to Sakyamuni, the Buddha." So the girl, Kissa Gautami, said, I'm praying you to tell me who is it. The man replied that you can go to the Sakyamuni, the Buddha. To Sakyamuni, that's another name for Buddha. Go to Sakyamuni, the Buddha. He can cure your child. Kissa Gautami repaired to the Buddha and cried. Repaired means went to. It is a stylish usage. So she went to Buddha and she cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. So she asked the same to Buddha also. The Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seed. And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, the Buddha added, the mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend. So, what did the thing Buddha asked for? Buddha said that I want just a handful of mustard seed. So, by hearing this, this girl became so happy. In that joy, she was ready to procure, she was ready to get that mustard seed. At that time, Buddha added one thing, you should get the mustard seed from a house where no one has lost a child, a husband, a parent, or friend. So, you should get mustard seed from such a house where they haven't lost a child, or they haven't lost a husband or a parent or friend. So from such a house you should procure this mustard seed. Poor Kisa Gautami now went from house to house, and the people pitied her and said, here is mustard seed, take it. So she went from house to house to collect the mustard seed which is asked by the Buddha. Really, while she is going from house to house, she was so happy to hear that only a handful of mustard seed is needed to save her child or save her son. Okay, so with that happiness, she is going from house to house in search of handful of mustard seed. So when she asked for a handful of mustard seeds, everybody was ready to give it, and they said, here is mustard seed, take it. But when she asked, did a son or daughter, a father or mother die in your family? They answered her, alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief. And there was no house, but some beloved one had died in it. So everybody was ready to give a handful of mustard seed. But when she asked the next question, did a son, a daughter, a father or mother, anybody in your family die? So when she asked such a question, how was the answer they gave? They said that the living are few, but the dead are many. Many people are dead in each and every family. And they asked her not to remind them about that deepest grief, that deep sadness of their loss. And there was no house, but some beloved one had died in it. So she couldn't find even one house without the death of any of their relatives. Then Kisa Gautami became weary and hopeless and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. So she became so sad, she became so tired, she became hopeless, and she sat down at the wayside, at the roadside, watching the lights of the city. So there were street lights. Okay, so by looking at that lights, how the lights were, they flickered up and were extinguished again. Okay, so she just looked at that. She's so sad, so tired, so hopeless, because she couldn't find even one house where some beloved one did not die. Okay, at last the darkness of the night reigned everywhere, and she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. So now she understood what's life. Okay, so the darkness of the night reigned everywhere, the darkness surrounded everywhere, and she is just looking at that flickering light, and she understood that the lives of people is like this, is like that light which flicker up. That means lights once and will be extinguished on another day. That means everybody is mortal. If we are born in this world, we should die once. So such a great fact, such a great truth is being understood by Kisa Gautami on that night. And she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all. Yet, in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality who has surrendered all selfishness. So, valley of desolation means an area which is filled with deep sorrow. So she began to think. She thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief? I thought that only I have this kind of a grief, only I have lost my child, or only I have lost my relative, so close relative, and I am the only person who grieve in this world. I thought in such a way, and how selfish am I to think in such a way? Then, and she understood the great fact that death is common to all. Yet, in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality. Even though this path of desolation, even though we are living in a world of sorrow, even though we are living in a world of sadness, there is a path, there is a way which leads us to immortality. Immortality means existing forever. Okay, ever existence. So, what is that path? Path to God. She understood that. Then the Buddha said, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. So she understood that fact and she returned. She came back to Buddha, and Buddha said, the life of mortals. Mortals means those bound to die. We all human beings are mortals, because if we have born in this world, we should die once. Okay, so such kind of living beings can be called as mortals. All the living beings in this world are mortals. So the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief. We have lots of troubles in our life, and this life span is so brief, very short, and it is combined with pain. For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. Of such a nature are living beings. So, Buddha told that great fact about life. What's that? Whoever born in this world should die one day. After reaching old age, there is death. That is the nature of all living beings. Okay, so if we are born in this world, we should die once. Then, as ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals, when born, are always in danger of death. So, what's the meaning? When the fruits get ripened, what happens? It falls down, isn't it? So, like that, when mortals are born in this world, it is very much sure that they should die once. Okay, then, as all earthen vessels made by the potter and in being broken, so is the life of mortals. Then again, the life of mortals are compared with earthen vessels. Okay, so like earthen vessels which are made by the potter, it will be broken. It will never be existing forever. It will be broken once. So like that is the life of mortals. Okay, so the life of mortals or life of human beings or life of living beings are compared with ripened fruits. Then nextly with earthen vessels. Okay, so it will never be existing forever. The next, both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. All are subject to death. What's the meaning? Both young and adult. Some young people may be thinking, oh, we are young, we'll never be dying at this age. But we cannot say it sure. Even if we are young or even if we are adult, even if we are old, we should die. Then even if you are fool, even if you are a fool or even if you are a wise person, you should die once. All the people who are born in this world should fall into the power of death. That means everybody should die once. All are subject to death. What's the meaning? Everybody should die one day. Okay. Then, of those who overcome by death, depart from life, a father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations. Okay, so what's the fact? Even if we are loving our son that much, even if a father is loving his son very much, he cannot save the life of his son. He cannot make his son immortal. Okay, like that. Nor kinsmen. Kinsmen means relatives. So we can, our relatives, or even if the person is a close relation of us, we cannot save that person from death. Okay, so if the death has neared, nobody can stop it. Then, Mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So, like an ox which is being led to slaughter, human beings are being carried off from their home after death. Okay, at that time, what's the only thing relatives and the loving ones can do? They can only mourn, they can only lament, they can only cry. Okay, so the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore, the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. So the world is afflicted with means affected by suffering, disease, or pain. All these things are part of this worldly life. Okay, so the world is affected with death, decay. It's a part of life. Therefore, wise people should not grieve, should not lament, should not cry, thinking about the death and decay of their loving ones. Okay, so you should know that death is an unavoidable fact or truth of human beings. Then, not from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. On the contrary, his pain will be the greater and his body will suffer. So, while we are weeping, while we are crying, or while we are becoming sad, or while we are grieving means becoming sad. So, while we are weeping and grieving, will we be getting peace of mind? No, it will never be happening. We will never be getting peace of mind. On the contrary, as opposite, what will happen? The pain will be greater, the pain will be increased. As we are mourning every time, as we are weeping every time, as we are getting sad thinking about that person every time, what will happen? We'll become more and more sad, and as a result of that, physically also it will make us tired. His body will also suffer. That means while we are mourning, while we are weeping, while we are becoming sad, it will affect our mind at the same time our body. Then he will make himself sick and pale, yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. So, while we are lamenting, while we are crying, it will never save that dead person from his death. Isn't it? He will not return. He will not come back by hearing our lamentation or by hearing our mourning, by hearing our crying. He cannot come back. Instead of that, what will happen? The crying person will become sick and he will become pale, tired and all. Okay? Then, he who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. So those who want peace, those who need peace, those who are in search, seeks means in search of peace. Okay, seeks peace. What should be done? We should never lament much. We should never complain about anything around us. We should never be grieved. We should never have grief in our mind. Okay, then he who has drawn out the arrow has become composed, will obtain peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. We should take out that arrow. That means we should never point on all those things. Okay, all those things like lamentation, complaining, grief, and all in our life. So, in order to get peace, in order to obtain peace of mind, what should be done? We should never be sorrowful. Okay, he who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow. Those who are able to overcome all these feelings can only obtain peace of mind, and they will always be existing as blessed. They will lead their life blessed. God will bless such kind of people who are always ready to overcome all these kind of feelings. So, what's the message of this chapter? We should be ready to face every difficult situations, every sad situations in our life, and we should face everything bold. Then only we can be happy. We should obtain peace of mind, and we can stay blessed forever. That's all. Thank you.